This system is already looking good. But here comes the fun part. So as I said, this one is a fun one because we're finally going to see a full gameplay loop. We're gonna attack the enemy is gonna attack us back, we're gonna see some really cool animations, and everything is taking form, but we're not gonna go into the math of the attacks yet. We're gonna leave that for one last video for this series. Maybe I will extend it later, but we're gonna leave it at that for now, okay? So let's go see how this works. Okay, so first thing first, we're gonna go and import a package from the asset store, which is the one that we're gonna be using for the animations, okay? So for everything to be working okay, before we go into building the gameplay loop about the attacks and getting damage and everything, we're gonna go and import that because we're gonna be using that all over the next video, this one and the next one, okay? So let's go into window here in Unity and we can open the asset store from the engine itself, but we can also go into a web browser, okay? So let's go into asset store. It's gonna open our default browser, okay? And in the asset store, we're gonna search for this thing called DoTween, okay? So let's find DoTween. We're gonna click it and you're gonna find two versions, okay? There it is. So it's the Trim Pro, which is the paid version. That is not the one that we're gonna be using. We're gonna be using this one called the Twin Hot Twin V2. Okay, so click that, and after you click it, you're gonna go here and you're gonna click here, Open in Unity. Okay, you gotta be logged in, okay, for this to work in the engine. Okay, so make sure about that. Okay, so we're gonna open that in Unity. We're gonna allow it, and then it's gonna go back into the engine and the package manager is gonna show us the do twin package. Okay, so we're gonna click here on import and we're gonna wait for it to import. Okay, so let's go and click import. Okay, so this is loading and it loads very fast and it's gonna give us this window. Okay, so we're not gonna change anything here because we're gonna be using all of it, and we're gonna click here on import, okay, to get all of the package. So let's wait for it to load. It's gonna load in a bit. Okay, so it already loaded, and when it loads, it's gonna give us this window, okay? And in this window, we just gotta click this button that says Open the Twin Utility Panel. Okay, so let's click it. It's gonna give us the utility panel, which is this one, and here we don't have to pay attention to any of this. We just gotta click this one, the green one, just for the first time. Okay, so we're gonna do this just for this time. Okay, so we're importing this. So let's click up and set up the twin. We're gonna wait a bit, and then it's loading. You're gonna see here that it's gonna be compiling the whole engine. It's gonna be compiling the package so we can use it. And after it loads, we're gonna click here on apply. Okay, and when we apply, this is already working. Okay, so now we're gonna go and we're gonna start using this thing called the twin, which is a code library. Okay, it's not a tool inside the engine per se. It's a library that we can access to do things easily, animation stuff easily through code. Okay, so we're gonna close this and we're gonna go into coding the animations of the player and the enemy and the attacks and everything that is related with the gameplay loop. Okay, so let's go into do that. Okay, so let's fire up our battle unit script, which is found in the scripts folder. Okay, so let's double click it because here is where we are going to add the animations. Okay, we're gonna add them here in the script, but we're gonna be accessing them in the battle manager script. Okay, So we're gonna be adding some stuff to make this work. Okay, so first we're gonna add some variables to this script. Okay, so let's go into the variables section, and we're gonna add first a variable called, this is gonna be called initial color. It's gonna be a variable of a color class. Okay, initial color is gonna be this variable. We're gonna add a new one. This is gonna be an image, or let's see if we already had, yes, we already have a creature image, so we're not gonna add that yet because we already have it. Okay, so we're gonna add 4 fields. Okay, and these are gonna be numbers. Okay, floats. Okay, so we're gonna add them in the same line because these are the values that are gonna define the speed of our animations. Okay, so let's start with it. So I'm gonna add a serialized field so I can access it on the inspector, and this is gonna be a float, and we're gonna add them in the same line. So this one is gonna be called a start time animation. The next one is gonna be called attack time animation. The third one is gonna be die time animation, and the last one is gonna be called hit time animation. Okay, great. Okay, so now let's go into the awake function, which is the one that is getting our image just as this battle unit starts going into work into the game. It's gonna get the component of the image. Okay, so we want to get 2 other things in this battle unit. Okay, so we want to get the position of whatever entity it is. Okay, so we want the position. If it's the player, we want its position. If it's the enemy, we want its position also. Okay, so we're gonna add also here in the variable section, we're gonna add private vector3, and this is gonna be called initial position. Okay, we're gonna add that variable because we're gonna be using it for the animations. Okay, so in the awake function, we're gonna add the initial position variable, and we're gonna assign it. Okay, so our initial position is gonna be the creature image. We're gonna go into its transform, and we're gonna go into its local position. Okay, so basically the position that it already has, that is gonna be our initial position. Okay, and we want to get our color because we're gonna be changing the colors of the creatures when they get hurt. Okay, so we're gonna start with initial color, and initial color is gonna be creature image dot color, which is the default color, the default sprite that is on this entity. Okay, so now we're gonna start coding the functions for the animations. Okay, so let's go and do that. Okay, so first thing first, the first animation that we want is the one that comes from the sides. Okay, so if you remember in the Pokemon games, these entities, when the battle started, so let me select the player, for example. These entities, when the battle started, weren't here by default. Okay, they came from the sides, so the animation worked like this. Okay, so this one came from this side, and this one came from this side. Okay, so we're gonna add that to make the battle look better. Okay, so we're gonna hit Ctrl Z to get them to their position. Great, and let's go back into our code editor. Okay, so we're gonna start with that animation first. And before going into the animations, don't forget that this tool that we're using is a new library, so we gotta add it on the top. Okay, so in this script, in the battle unit script, we're gonna be using, and this is called DG twinning, and that is the name of the animation, DG in uppercase dot twinning with a T uppercase and the rest of the word in lowercase, okay? So now we can access the functions that this library offers us to make very cool animations in 2D here in Unity easily with very simple lines, okay? So let's go into coding the first animation, okay? So we're gonna go down here. It's inside the battle unit class. It's not outside, so we're gonna be working also inside the battle unit for all of these animations, okay? So don't go outside of it. So our first animation is gonna be called play start animation. That is gonna be the name of our method, okay? So it's gonna be void, and inside of it we're gonna be adding the attributes of this animation. But remember, if we have a player, the player comes from here, from the left, and if we have an enemy, the enemy comes from here, from the right, okay? So both of these are gonna have different attributes, okay? So let's go back into VS Code and let's start with this, okay? So we're gonna have a conditional statement. If, and we already know that we already have this set to know if things are player or are enemies, and we're gonna be using that also here. If is player, if the entity is a player, we're gonna be using this line. Creature image, we're gonna go into its transform, we're gonna go into its local position, and we want this entity, this image, to be out of the screen before the battle starts, okay? So we're gonna assign this position. We're gonna go into new vector tree, and inside the vector tree values, we're gonna use initial position, remember, and we're gonna inside the x value, because we're not gonna change things vertically, just horizontally, and inside the x value we're gonna subtract 400 pixels, okay? That is the value that we're gonna subtract. So this image is outside my battle screen before it starts, okay? And our y value is gonna be initial position, okay, dot y. That is gonna be the same one. That one is not going to change, okay? So if it is a player, it's gonna be 400 pixels in the negative position, okay? So that means it's gonna be right around here, okay? So let's go back into VS Code, okay? So if it's not a player, we gotta add its attributes. Else, if we're gonna go is player is not true, it is false, we want it to be on the other side, outside of the battle screen, okay? So we're gonna go into creature image, transform, local position. We're gonna assign a new position. It's gonna be a vector tree also, and this is gonna be initial position. And guess what? If the one for the player was a subtraction, this is gonna be an adding, okay? So inside local position dot x, and we're gonna add a plus sign, and we're gonna add 400 pixels to the right, okay? And we're gonna set the position of y, and initial position dot y is gonna be the same. That is not going to change, okay? So now we've got an initial position for our entities, okay? So now let's try this, okay? So where should we call this play start animation function, okay? We should call it always here at the end of the setup creature function, okay? So just by adding this line, this already is gonna work, okay? This already is gonna work because we are already calling this function in the battle manager, okay? So let's go and call this function, okay? Play start animation, there it is. We're gonna call it After we get the image, the game is gonna decide if it is a player or it is not, and then depending on which it is, it's gonna change the positions of these entities. Okay, so we're gonna save this, and if this is already working okay, both of these entities, when we press play, are gonna be outside of our screen. Okay, so let's press play to see if it is working. Okay, let's wait for it to load, and there it is. This is working okay. That is what we want. Okay, so we're gonna stop this and we're gonna go back into VS Code to make both of those entities come back inside our screen. Okay, so what are we going to do? Just with a small line, we're gonna animate for both of these to come inside our screen. Okay, so we're gonna go into the creature image again, and inside the transform, now we're gonna start using the DoTween library. So we can use this one, do local move X. That is the one that we're gonna use, and this is where where it resides the power of DoTween, because DoTween is gonna create the frames that we need for the animation. Okay, for this animation, it's gonna create all of the frames that go in here, and it's gonna be using just one line for all of this to be working. Okay, so we're gonna clear this. Remember, if you get those 3 random errors, it's because you press play selecting whatever entity that is inside the UI. Okay, so don't worry about it. It has nothing to do with your code. Okay, so let's go back into VS Code, and we're gonna use the do local move at X, as I said, because we're gonna be moving in the X axis, and we're gonna open a parenthesis because it's a method. And as you can see, your code editor is gonna show you what are the attributes, the arguments or parameters that this method is calling us to put inside the parentheses. Okay, so it's saying that we can add inside of it a float, which is the end value. Okay, so which is gonna be our end value, which is gonna be the end value of this animation. Our end value is gonna be initial position. Okay, remember, we already have the initial position. We're getting it in the awake, so we're gonna pass the initial position, and here we're gonna pass the duration of the animation, and we're not gonna be using the snapping. We're just gonna be using these two. Okay, so the method works without adding this last argument, so we're gonna be using that. So how does this work? Just by adding the end value. So DoTween knows where our image is. Okay, and after it identifies where our image is, it's gonna move it all the way to our end value, the one we assigned, and it's gonna animate by itself. Okay, so that's the power of the library. Okay, so our end value is gonna be initial position dot x. Okay, remember, we're getting our initial position, we're already getting it on our wake. Okay, so with that, we can know that the game knows that this should be our initial position. Okay, but we are doing the math operation of subtracting or adding our initial position here before going into the battle, and after that we're gonna move our entity into the screen. Okay, so we're gonna assign the initial position as the value for the ending frame, and we're gonna start add here the velocity, the speed of the animation. Okay, so which is gonna be our speed? It's gonna be, remember, we already have a variable, it's gonna be the start time animation. Okay, and we can change that in the inspector if we want to speed things up or slow them down. Okay, so we're gonna save this, and we're gonna go back into Unity to see how it works, if it is already working or if we've gotta fix something. Okay, so we're gonna play and let's see what's up. Okay, we're gonna clear this. So we're seeing our entities. Okay, we're seeing our entities, and it must be because we haven't assigned that start animation time. Okay, so let's go into our player. Okay, and here in our start time animation, let's put up a 10. Okay, we're gonna try with a 10, and let's go into our enemy here and its start time animation. Let's set it up to 10 also. Okay, so let's see if this works, or if we gotta add to it or we gotta subtract to it. So let's press play again without selecting anything to not get those 3 errors. Okay, so let's press play. Let's see what's up with it. Okay, so there it is. The animation is already working, but as you can see, it's way too slow. 10 is a very high number for this animation, so we're gonna change that. Okay, but this is already working and this is already dynamic. Okay, so let's go and press stop, and let's select again our player, and we're gonna set this up to 2, and in the enemy we're gonna set it up to 2 also. Okay, so let's go and deselect everything and let's go into play. And let's wait for it to load, and there it is. Now we have something better, but it still looks a bit slow. Okay, so let's set it up to 1. Okay, 1 must be the magic number. Okay, let's set up the enemy to 1, 2. Let's deselect it and let's press play. Let's see what's up. There it is. That could be a better animation. So let me try the 1.5, which I think is gonna be our magic number, and let's continue with the next animations. Okay, so let's deselect everything. Let's press play, and there it is. I like that speed. Okay, so now let's continue, and as we had in the last lesson, in the last devlog, we already have this set. Okay, so now we're gonna go into adding the animations to what happens when I click whatever of these attacks. Okay, so we're gonna stop this and we're gonna go into our animations. Okay, so let's go and do that. Okay, so let's fire up our battle unit script to keep adding some animations. Let's click this one. Okay, so there it is. So let's go to the end of the script. Remember, always inside the class, the battle unit class. We're not gonna be implementing anything outside of this one in the script. So inside of it, we're gonna start coding a new method. This method is gonna be called how would we call this one? This is gonna be called the play attack animation. Okay, so play attack animation. Okay, great, there it is. So as we already know how to use the tween, we're gonna go implementing that stuff that is close to the one we did here, but much faster. Okay, so we're gonna be using some lines that are similar to the ones that we already have. Okay, so let's start with that. Okay, so because the animation for the attack is gonna have a different animation, we're gonna be adding two sequences or two types of animations into the attack animation, and this is where the tween can create sequences or of animations. Okay, so a sequence is like a box, and we add new sequences to the whole animation. So to do that, we're gonna go here and we're gonna create a variable. This is gonna be called seq, okay, for short for sequence, and we're gonna call this one the tween. We're gonna assign it, and this is gonna be a sequence. So inside this sequence called seq, we're gonna add the animations. Okay, because this is gonna carry multiple animations. So our first animation, we're gonna go into seq append, which is a method of a part of the tween. Okay, and we're gonna open parentheses and we're gonna go into the creature image transform. We're gonna go into do local move x also. Okay, do local move x. which is part of the twin library. And this is gonna be initial position. We already have that dot x, and we're gonna add to this animation, and we wanna know if this is a player or if this is an enemy, because the animation is gonna be different depending on it. Okay, so if this is a player, this is gonna go, and we're gonna add here a question mark, and this is the operation that we can use, that we can write in a very short way in C sharp to compare if we wanna move it to the left or to the right, depending on the condition. Okay, so if this condition is true, we wanna move it the uh, to the positive one. Okay, and if this is not true, we wanna move it in the negative one. Okay, and also we're gonna go here and we're gonna multiply this by 60. Okay, that is gonna be multiplied by 60. This result is gonna be multiplied by 60. Remember, this is the position. Okay, and we also gotta add the duration of the animation, and let's try with this one, a 0.2 f. Okay, we can also use our variables, the one we have on top, but we're gonna try with this to see how it works. Okay, if we want to keep changing it, we can use the variable that we can access on the inspector. Okay, so let's go and append a new animation. Okay, so let's go and append to this one. We're gonna go also into creature image dot transform dot do local move x. Also, let's see where it is. Yes, there it is. And we want to go into the initial position dot x, and we want to change a bit on the duration, on the speed of this animation. Okay, so what does this mean? That, let me finish this. Okay, there it is. What does this mean? That we're telling the twin, okay, the twin, first you're gonna move my creature image or my enemy image, depending on whatever we want, whatever we need on the attack. You're gonna move it a bit, and you're gonna move it very fast. We're telling that. Okay, we're telling that here on the speed on a 0.2. And after you move it very fast, I want to go back to my initial position. Okay, and I want to move it very fast also back into my initial position. Okay, so that is gonna be our attack animation. Okay, so let's go and create our receive damage animation. Okay, so we're gonna add all of the animations right now, the receive damage animation and the death animation. We're gonna add them because we're gonna be using all of them throughout the building of this system. So we'll add them first, but we're not gonna be able to use them until we go into the battle manager and we assigned the actions that happen depending when we click an attack button. Okay, so let's start with that before going into the actions that happen when we attack. Okay, so I'm gonna speed this up here a bit to write these two methods for the receive attack animation and the death animation, and then I'm gonna explain them quickly so we can go into implementing what happens when we click an attack button. Okay, so we'll speed this up here.
Gold leaves, gold strings,
Okay, so we've got what we need. Okay, so now we've got our three animation methods, and I'm gonna explain each of these ones, the two ones that I wrote after I did the play attack animation. So this is a cool one. Okay, so we're gonna be using this do shake position method that is inside the twin library also, and this is very cool because it asks for multiple arguments. Okay, it asks for a duration. Okay, it asks for the strength of the shake animation. It asks also for a vibrato value, which is also part of the shake. It adds a random value. Okay, as you can see, float randomness, I'm gonna set it to 90. Okay, which is the default. It adds a snapping, I'm gonna set it to false, and also it asks for a fade out. Okay, so if we want to have a very nice animation, a very nice shaky animation at the end, we're gonna set it to true for the fade out. Okay, so those are the arguments, the parameters that we're setting for this do shake position method, which is inside the do twin library. Okay, so whenever you want to try some of this stuff, okay, just go into the image you want to change, for example creature image, transform, and just write do whatever, and you're gonna find lots of animations inside that do twin library. Okay, we can find this do play backwards, do local rotate, do local jump, do local flip. So try working with that library to get used to it, and you're gonna see that it's very powerful. And just with a bit of arguments, a bit of numbers inside the methods, we can create very good animations. Okay, so after that I created a sequence as the one we had here on the play attack animation. I created this sequence, and I'm using a for loop for this sequence. Okay, because this sequence is gonna repeat itself multiple times. And why am I repeating this multiple times? Because this is gonna be the hurt animation. When the creature, the entity, the player, or the enemy gets hurt, we want it to shake first. Okay, it's gonna shake, and also we want it to like have like a flicker effect. Okay, so this flicker effect is is achieved by doing this the changing of color in a very fast manner. Okay, so we are using the hit time animation. We're gonna see if the value that we have right now, which is 0, we gotta make it a bit bigger, like 0 point something, and it's gonna change our color, the color of our sprite. It's gonna change it to gray, to our initial color, to gray, to our initial color, to gray, to our initial color, very fast, multiple times, as it iterates on the for loop. Okay, then let's go into the death animation that we're gonna be using until we add the math of this stuff. Okay, so we can know if we are dead or our enemy is dead. Okay, so in this one we're gonna be using also we're gonna be joining two sequences. Okay, we're gonna be joining because the twin sequence library also has this join, which means that the animations, you can join two animations happening at the same time. Okay, so when our creature dies, whichever it is, the enemy or the player, we're gonna be using this do fade animation, and we're gonna be using this die time animation that we're gonna set in the inspector. And this do fade animation asks for our end value, how much we want to fade our image. Okay, so as you can see, if we go here, we hover over it, it shows us what we can add into the arguments. Okay, we can now add an end value, and we can add the duration of the animation. So our end value is gonna be 0 because we want it to fade out when the creature dies, and also we're adding a small shake. So it is dying, it is shaking, and it is also fading when the creature dies. Okay, so now we've got implemented. We're not using them yet, we just wrote them, but we're gonna go and implement our attack animation and our receive and attack animation. Okay, and that is going to be implemented in our battle manager. Okay, so let's go into our battle manager to see how that works. Okay, so here in the battle manager script, we're gonna be adding this. Okay, so let's go to the end, and here we're gonna start with a coroutine. Okay, as you would imagine, this is gonna be a coroutine because some things are gonna be happening one after the other. Okay, so this is gonna be called select attack coroutine because this is what's gonna happen after we submit the action of certain attack inside our battle screen. Okay, so this is saying we have an error because remember the coroutines need some kind of yield at the end. Okay, so let's start writing so we can see what is happening. Okay, so inside of this, first we're gonna go into our battle dialog box, we're gonna go into our toggle attacks, and we wanna turn off our attacks. Okay, we wanna turn off those buttons. Okay, we don't wanna see them because we are going to see the text writing the attack that we selected. Okay, so after that we wanna go into our battle dialog box and we wanna toggle our dialog text, and this is gonna be set to true. Okay, so we wanna activate that. Okay, so I'm gonna save that there, and after that I'm gonna start with a conditional, which is gonna be the one that decides which of the buttons I'm selecting and what it's gonna write or what it's gonna perform depending on the button. Okay, so let's start writing that. Okay, so if, and I want to add here a variable. Okay, so these are gonna be the arguments of this method. Okay, of this coroutine, and my arguments are gonna be first, I want to know which position, which number of attack inside my list is the one I'm gonna be using. Okay, so I'm gonna be using here a variable called selected attack. Okay, and also I want to get that selected attack from a list of attacks, and where is that list going to be? In my player unit. Okay, but here I'm just gonna set the list. Okay, the list that I want for this coroutine, this method to perform. Okay, so this is gonna be a list. Okay, great. It's gonna be of type attack, class attack, and this is gonna be named attacks. Okay, so this is what I'm gonna be using inside this method. Okay, so if selected attack is equal to 0, which is the first space inside my array, inside my list, remember we start counting from 0. If my selected attack is the first one, I wanna perform whatever happens here. Okay, so I'm gonna write here a debug.log so we can see in the console if we are performing the action before we build all of this. So we're gonna call here and we're gonna say we selected the first attack. Great, so we want to get that message to see if if things are working. Okay, then we need the yield. We're gonna add the yield here so this coroutine stops saying we have an error. Okay, so we want to yield return, and remember we already toggled the dialog text here so we can start writing stuff. So this coroutine is gonna be the battle dialog box. We're gonna go into the set dialog method inside this coroutine, and here we're gonna write a string, and this string is gonna say the attack that we are performing. Okay, so we are gonna say you used, we're gonna open curly brackets so we can access that data inside our attacks list, and this is gonna be, remember we're going to go into the attacks list, which is this one that is here, and we're gonna go into the first space of this array, which is 0, and we're gonna go inside that first space, we're gonna go inside its space, and we're gonna go inside and we're gonna get its name, and that is what we're gonna write here. Okay, so we're gonna save this, and we can't use this yet inside the engine, inside the inspector. We can't assign it to any button because remember, we can't access the coroutines in the inspector. Okay, so we gotta create like a middleman method, like the one we already used before on the last lesson. Okay, remember we created a middleman method for the player action coroutine. We're gonna do exactly that with this method of select attack. Okay, so let's try and do that. Okay, so we're gonna start, and this is gonna be named just like the method that we wrote right now. Okay, so this is gonna be a public void because we want to access it on the inspector. This is gonna be a button pressed or button or attack button pressed. Okay, to have it very exact. Okay, and this is gonna get also a value. Which value is gonna get? The selected attack value to decide from the list the attack we want to perform, the attack we want to write inside that dialog box. Okay, so here we're gonna start our coroutine. Okay, we're gonna start the select attack coroutine, and remember which are the arguments that is gonna be asking this coroutine to play. It's gonna be asking for selected attack. We're using this one. This is the one that we're gonna be using. It's named the same, but we are passing the value that we're gonna be using in the inspector. So whatever value goes here, it's gonna go here also, and it's gonna go here to decide the attack that we wanna use. Okay, so selected attack also there inside. And where are we gonna get our list of attacks? We're gonna get them from our player unit, from our creature, and from our attacks. Okay, so just like the other method coroutine we used in the battle dialog box to get the info from the attack that was selected at certain time inside the screen. Okay, so we're gonna go into attacks. Okay, so we're gonna save this, and now we can start using it on the button. Okay, so after we try that, we're gonna go and try if we are getting our message and if we are getting the text written. Okay, after that we're gonna set the else ifs for the other attacks. Okay, so let's save this. We're just gonna try the first attack. Okay, so let's go and save this. Let's go back into Unity. Let's select the button for our first attack. Here it is. I can see it because it's deactivated, but I can select it here. Okay, in the hierarchy. So let's select that it's there, and let's go into its inspector. Let's go into onClick. If you haven't activated it, just click here to add an action to the onClick, and I'm gonna drag the battle manager inside this button. Okay, because that's where the method comes from. Okay, so let's go into the function that we're gonna be activating here in battle manager, and let's try and find here attack button pressed. There it is, and it's asking for a number. Okay, because this method is set in the code, is set to ask for a number. So I'm gonna set number 0 because that is exactly the number that I want for this first attack. Okay, which is the first space on the list, on the array. Okay, so we're gonna save this, and let's go into play mode to see if we click that first button of the attacks, we're gonna perform. We can see the message here in the console, and we can see the message reading here. Okay, so let's play here and let's see what happens. Okay, we can see everything's working. Okay, let's press fight. We have our attacks, and let's try clicking on digital shock. There it is. You used digital shock. We are already getting the info for our attack. Remember, these errors have nothing to do with our code, so we're gonna ignore them. We're gonna clear this. We're gonna start this again. Remember, do not select anything from the UI before going to play mode. Okay, so let's go into play mode. Let's try this again. Let's fight. Let's click digital shock. Yes, you use digital shock, and there it is on our console. We selected the first attack. Okay, so that is working great already. Okay, so let's try and go and add the if else's for the other attacks to see what happens when we click each of the other buttons. Okay, so let's go and do that. Okay, so let's open up our battle manager again, and let's start with adding the conditionals for our other attacks. Okay, so first we're gonna go and copy this one. Okay, let's add the else if first. Okay, else if the selected attack is equal to 1, we wanna perform the action. Else if the selected attack is equal to 2, we will not perform the action of that attack. Else, if the selected attack is equal to 3, we want to perform that action. Okay, so that is looking good. So inside here, we are gonna do the same we did in the first attack. Okay, so we're gonna copy and paste it to make things easy. There it is, and there it is, and there it is. And we're just gonna edit these messages. Okay, so this is gonna be the second attack, this is going to be the third attack, and this is going to be the fourth attack. Great. So now we want to decide if our animation performs right up when we click the button or after we get the message of the attack that we selected. So we're gonna see how it looks inside the engine in play mode, and we're gonna decide that in a bit. Okay, so let's change up these numbers here. Let's set this one to 1, let's set this one to 2, and let's set this one to 3. Remember, this one is gonna be the first attack, even if it is 0, because we're counting up from 0. This is gonna be the second, this is gonna be the third, even if it is 2, and this is gonna be the fourth, even if it is 3. Okay, so there it is. We're gonna save that, and now we gotta assign the functions to each of the buttons. Okay, so let's go into our second attack button. Let's go into its on click function, and let's click add. Let's drag our battle manager, let's put it inside here, let's go into the functions we want to perform, and we want to assign this one to attack button pressed like the last button we used, and this is gonna be number 1 inside the array, inside the list of attacks. Okay, let's go into the other button and do the same thing. We're gonna delete this, we're gonna add a new condition for when we click this button. Let's drag the battle manager, there it is. Let's go battle manager, attack button pressed, and let's repeat that with the last button. Okay, so let's delete this, let's add it, let's drag our script, let's go into the functions, battle manager, and there it is, attack button pressed, and this is gonna be attack number 3. So 0, 1, 2, and 3. Those are gonna be the spaces, the numbers that we're gonna be counting in this list of attacks. Okay, so now if we go back into VS Code, if we change up the numbers here, this text is gonna give us the name of each attack when we perform it. Okay, so let's go into VS Code. Let's save up this. Let me remember to save the battle unit 2, save that one. Okay, let's go back into play mode to see how that is working. Okay, so everything is working fine right now. We select an action, let's see if it is updating. Yes, it is updating the data of each attack. Let's perform the plasma shot to see if we get the correct text for the plasma shot. Okay, so let's see what happens. Okay, you used plasma shot. Okay, so I had that animation there, and there you saw it because I had added it, that line unconsciously. I wrote it. So at the beginning here of the battle manager, inside the select attack, I had added this player unit play attack animation, and you saw that it performed right when I clicked the button. So what if you wanted it to perform after the text stops writing? Okay, so I could put it inside each of these ones, or I could place it after all of this happens. Okay, so let's try copying it and placing it right after everything to see if the animation looks better. So remember, we're gonna be calling this from the battle unit. So I'm gonna write it again so we have that clear. Okay, so we're gonna go into our player unit, which is a battle unit. It's part of the battle unit class, which has the animations that we created at the beginning. And this player unit is gonna we're gonna go inside it, and we're gonna play the attack animation. Great. Okay, we're gonna play the attack animation, and we're gonna save this. Okay, let's set it up. It's a method. We're gonna save it, and we're gonna go into Unity back. Okay, we're gonna press play, and let's see how that is working. Okay, Scrix Marauder has appeared. Let's click fight. Let's see what happens when we click Digital Shock. There it is. The text goes, and after the text, the action is performed. So I like that one better. So I'm gonna be keeping that one. Okay, I like better when the actions happen after the text finishes writing. Okay, so we're gonna stop this. We're gonna go back into VS Code, and after or right after, right as we are performing our player attack animation, we could perform the animation for the enemy. Okay, we could do that, or we could wait a bit to see the animation of the enemy. So let's try to see which of these ones look better. Okay, so let's go and do that. So let's go here into the enemy unit, and inside the enemy unit, which is a battle unit 2, we can find the play receive attack animation. There it is. Okay, so I'm gonna set it up there. I'm gonna save this, and now we're gonna see both of the animations happening at the same time. Okay, so let's see what's up with that, and let's go back into Unity after saving. So let's see how it is looking. Okay, let's see, the open scene have been modified externally. Let's click reload. Great. Let's click play. Let's see what's happening. Yes, everything is working okay. Let's click fight. Let's see what happens when we click mental stun, if it has the animation for the enemy and the player, and you use mental stun, and there it is. You saw the shake from the enemy. That is gonna be the animation when whichever of these two gets an attack from the other entity. So if I got an animation from the enemy, the one shaking would be my player. Okay, so we're gonna go and implement now the animation, the inverse animation, or the attack from the enemy back to us. Okay, so let's go and do that. Okay, so let's fire up our battle manager again. There it is. So let's go back down, and we want to implement what happens after we do our attack. We want to implement it right here. Okay, so I'm going to erase this line. So we're going to write it together. So after we perform the animations for attacking the enemy and the enemy receiving damage, we want to wait a bit. We don't want to go immediately into the animation or the attack of the enemy. Okay, so we want to wait, and here we're gonna yield return new wait for seconds, and we want to wait at least a second for now. We're gonna see if that is enough, if it is too little, too much. Okay, so we're gonna see what happens. Okay, we're gonna save that, and after here we're gonna start a coroutine. This coroutine is gonna be called enemy action. Okay, and there it is. It's gonna say we have an error because it doesn't exist. We gotta go implement it, so we're gonna comment it for now. Okay, there it is. So we're gonna save that, and we're gonna go up. So we're gonna write the enemy action method here before the player action to have some consistency, some order. Okay, so here we're gonna go, and before we start writing this action, we wanna go and find the attacks and set up a random attack for from the whatever attacks are inside this creature. Remember, each creature is gonna it's going to have different attacks. Okay, so I wanna set those attacks first. Let's go and see if we have set them in the inspector for this creature, and then I wanna have a method that goes inside those attacks and gives me one randomly. Okay, so let's go and do that first. Okay, so let's go and see if our enemy already has attacks in the inspector. Let's see, let's select our enemy, our Scrix Marauder. So I had implemented my attacks for this enemy. Okay, so if you hadn't implemented, remember, you can go here, you can go and write 4 attacks. That is gonna be the maximum. I'm gonna set them all to be available since level 1. I'm gonna set them up here: Digital Shock, Grenade, Mental Stun, and Plasma Shot. Okay, there it is. Okay, so we're gonna save that, and we're gonna go back into our code editor. Okay, so right here, let's go into our creature, because this is gonna be a method that is gonna be accessible for all of our enemies in the game. Okay, not just the one that is in the battle. So we're gonna implement it here in the creature, so we can access it wherever we want. Okay, so this is gonna be a public of attack class, because it's gonna be an attack. That is what it's gonna return. We want an attack. Okay, this is gonna be named random attack. Okay, random attack method is gonna return us a random attack, obviously. Okay, so there it is. Okay, so let's see what is the error we're getting here. Public attack, random attack. Okay, we're in the creature. Yes, we're gonna save this to see if it changes. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so yeah. Okay, we're gonna return attacks. Okay, and we want something here. So let's finish writing this to see if the error clears up. Yes, there it is. The error is clearing up when we start writing. Okay, so we want a number, and this number is gonna be a random number. So we're gonna name this variable, this int value, random ID. Okay, and it's gonna be between a random range. Okay, see that you are using this one, because if you go into the random class, you can find the random range class inside the random. Okay, so we want the range one. That is the one that we're gonna be using here in Unity. Okay, so we want to go inside, and we want to find the value between 0, which is our first attack, and which would be our maximum number of attacks dot count. Okay, so if we have 2 attacks, we want a random number between 0 and 1. If we have 3 attacks, we want a random number between 0 and 2, and going up and going up to whatever number of attacks we have. Okay, so the maximum is gonna be 4, but that's gonna change depending on the level of the enemy. Okay, so let's go and let's return. What do we want to return? Attacks. Okay, attacks, and we want to return what? The random ID. Whichever of the attacks this throwing of a dice gives me, that is the one that my enemy is gonna perform. Okay, so I'm gonna save this, and we're gonna go back into our battle manager to start writing our enemy action. Okay, so this is gonna be obviously a coroutine, as we said before, and this is gonna be called enemy action. Okay, there it is. Okay, so we're gonna write the yield so we can lose these errors, so we can uncomment this already And you can see no error. So that is gonna happen after all of that. So first, our enemy action, we want an attack. Where are we going to get that attack? Remember, each unit has a creature inside, and each creature now has a random attack inside. So we're gonna go into our enemy unit, okay? And inside our enemy unit, there's a creature, and inside our creature, there's a random attack. There it is. That is the method that we want to use here. Okay, so we're assigning that to the attack variable inside this coroutine. Okay, so this is gonna be solely for this coroutine, this variable. Okay, so after that, we want to yield return. And what are we gonna use? The battle dialog box. Obviously, we wanna set a dialog to see which attack our enemy is performing, and it's gonna be inside. Let's see what's up. This is gonna be set to a string. There it is. And our enemy unit, we want its name. It's Let's go into the creature, into its base, and to its name, and there it is. We're getting the name of the creature, and let's open up curly braces right here, right after our string symbol. Okay, we want to get that data. So enemy unit, the name of the enemy, we're gonna say has used. Okay, let's stop that. Okay, has used. Okay, and it's gonna be using what? Attack dot base dot name. Okay, where is this attack dot base dot name coming from? From our random attack. Remember, that is coming from our random attack. Okay, so don't forget that is why we're using the attack name here. Okay, so let's open up these ones here, because remember, this is a string. All of the string is gotta be encapsulated between these ones. Okay, there it is, semicolon. And now I've got my full line in which I'm gonna write the attack, the random attack that is coming up from here, from the method that we just added to the creature base scriptable object. And that is the flexibility that scriptable objects offer. You can go and edit them in whatever other stuff you implemented in other places of the game is gonna update in a very flawless way. Okay, so that works great. Okay, so after we write, we wanna perform the animations. So our enemy unit is gonna perform what? The play attack animation, because now they are attacking, not us. Great. Okay, and after that, we're gonna write our player unit is gonna receive the play received attack animation. Okay, he is gonna receive the damage. Okay, there it is. So we're gonna save this. We're gonna set it up to yield return new, wait for seconds, because we want to go back into the loop. Okay, we want to go back into the actions of the player, so we don't want to go immediately. So we're gonna wait also 1 second. Okay, we're gonna go waiting 1 second after that. And after this finishes, after this coroutine finishes, what would happen? We wanna perform the player action. We wanna show again the buttons for the fight, for the run, for all of that. Okay, so here we're gonna start a coroutine. Which one? We're gonna start the player action coroutine. There it is. Great. And now we have a working game loop. Okay, so we're gonna save this and we're gonna see how it's working right now. So let's go into here. So let's go into play mode. Let's save it up. Okay, let me make sure I saved my attack script. There it is. Okay, let's press play and let's see how it's working. So a script marauder has appeared. Let's select an action. Let's fight. There it is. Our attacks are showing their names. Everything is working fine here. And if I perform a mental stun, you used mental stun. The animations are great. A script marauder attacks me back. And now we have a loop, okay? It's going back and forth, okay? So now we have this small bug that, as I told you, it's a small bug from the input system. If we go back into this loop, you're gonna see that the fight button isn't getting automatically selected. Okay, so we gotta add, as we did with the primary attack button, we gotta do that in our battle dialog box. Okay, to set this one to our primary button. Okay, so we're gonna set that up right now. So but I can also keep playing with our mouse. Okay, so let's try this with our mouse. So I'm gonna click fight. There it is. I'm gonna click plasma shot. You use plasma shot. Great. Script marauder attacks me back. Great. I have a working loop. So don't worry, in the next video we're gonna start working with the math of the health of the attacks, of modifiers, and everything that is complex and overwhelming about this system. I left it for the last video. Okay, so we're gonna do that in the next one. So let's click fight here. Let's try grenade. Great, you use digital shock. Okay, what happened there? Okay, we're gonna go and play here. Let's go. When I click grenade, I got here you used digital shock. So let's go back into my folder, in my attacks folder, and let's find the grenade one. And there it is, grenade. Yeah, there it is, grenade. Okay, so let's click play again to see what happened. Maybe I clicked up the mouse. That's the problem with using mouse with this type of games. Sometimes you can click in the space of something else, of another button, and things are gonna happen as you wish. So that's why we are automatically selecting the buttons so we can use them with a controller, game controller, or a keyboard. Okay, so let's go into fight mode. Let's click grenade with the keyboard. You use digital shock. Okay, so we're gonna go and fix that because we have a small bug there. Okay, so let's click fight. Let's go into plasma shot. Yes, that is working. Okay, let's keep the loop. The script marauder use digital shot. Okay, digital shock. Yes, that is working. Okay, so that must be the number. The number on the button is executing the wrong attack inside my list. So let's stop this. Let's go into my buttons. Okay, battle dialog box, and in my buttons, let's select this one is the third one, and let's go. And this one is the first one. Let's check out. Yes, 0. Let's check the second one. Yes, 1. There it is. See, this button was performing the attack 0 in the list of attacks. So this should be performing the attack number 2. So let's go and click up there to see if it is working. Okay, there it is. Let's click fight. Let's select another time grenade, and there it is. Now it's corrected. So you gotta be very picky about this type of stuff. When you are selecting these things, make sure you are putting the right values. Okay, so let's go and fix up the button that isn't selecting back when we go into this game loop. Okay, so let's go back into VS Code. Let's go back into our battle dialog box, and we're gonna set here also a new variable. This is gonna be a public button. Okay, we're already using the Unity Engine UI. This is gonna be a primary button. Okay, that is gonna be our primary button. Oh yeah, we already had this one. Yeah, we just weren't using it. Okay, so let's go into, okay, this is the battle dialog box. Okay, so my mistake. So let's go into the battle manager. Yes, the battle manager has no primary button. Okay, so we're gonna set this one to public button, and this is gonna be our primary button. Okay, and let's go and check what we were using to set that button. Okay, so let's get this line, primary button dot select. That's the method that we're gonna use, and let's set it up here right when we perform the player action. Okay, right when we start the player action, we want to select that button, that fight button, again when the game loop is running. Okay, so let's save this up and let's go back into Unity to see that our game loop is working without using the mouse, just with the keyboard or the game controller, whichever you want. So let's click play to see what's happening. Okay, that's working great. A Squeaks Marauder creature has appeared. Okay, we're gonna clear this up. Okay, let's press play. Okay, there it is. Okay, everything is working great. So we have a little bug here again. So let's stop this. Let's go back in Visual Studio Code and our primary button. We're gonna comment this to see if that is the one that is giving us a small issue. Okay, let's save this one. Okay, there it is. So let's go back into play mode to see if everything is fixed. Okay, so there it is. The creature has appeared. Let's select an action. There it is. Okay, so we should select the button just after this happens. Okay, so that's the power and the flexibility of using coroutines. Okay, just after we can do things just after we want. Okay, so the button was getting selected before everything appeared. Okay, so right after all of this appears, I wanna select my primary button. Okay, so there it is. I'm gonna save this up and I'm gonna go back into Unity to see how it's working. So just before that, let's go into Battle Manager and let's go into the inspector and let's assign our fight button to be the primary button of the Battle Manager. Okay, before going into play mode. Okay, so let's see that Battle Manager and let's drag this one to the button inside the inspector space that it has for us. Okay, so we're gonna go into play mode now and this should already be working. Okay, so let's go into play mode and see what's up with this. Okay, there it is. This is working great. This is selected, but the issue was after the enemy performed its action. So let's go inside. Let's perform a grenade. Yes, there it is. Good animations. Yes, good animations. Let's go back and there it is. Now we have the fight button automatically selected after we're coming up down from the game loop. Okay, so now we have a working game loop. This is taking a good form. Okay, so in the last video of this series, we're finally going to add the math so everything is working just as we want, just as you, in our favorite games. Okay, the health is gonna go down. We're gonna see some different messages here like critical or if an attack isn't so effective. We're gonna do that in the last video. Okay, so this was a nice one. This was a fun one because now we are finally seeing a game loop, and let's see each other in the next video to finish up this battle system. Okay, see you in the next one.
If I had $1 for every time that my life took a sour turn, I'd be rich and rolling baller and hollering at your girl. I'd be making little money and spending it like I'm rich. I'd be making bad decisions and thinking that I'm the